Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. In today's video, I want to talk about the double signing of Ligt and Mazraoui. Finally getting over the line after some concern over the weekend again about whether this would actually happen. Well, I say over the line, they haven't been formally announced as of yet and all of that, but it looks like everything is finally agreed with everybody. Talk about that, how Mazraoui fits into the team, because I expect we will see him playing pretty soon. Talk about the game against City, a closed-door game United played in addition to that, and if there are more signings to come, including the midfield. So let's get into it. First and foremost, talking about Matthijs de Ligt. As I said, for a long time, United would be willing to pay up to 50 million euros, but that would be the including add-ons price that they'd be willing to pay. They felt that at that price, it was an opportunity that was too good to pass up and one that would be well within their valuation. The deal always hinged on whether Bayern would actually come down on that price. And in the end, they did, with United agreeing that fee, 45 million euros plus 5 million in add-ons. So that is, 37, 38 million pounds up front for Matthijs de Ligt. And then you combine that with only 12 million pounds for Mazraoui. 50 million pounds for those two players definitely fits within what United want to do. When you take the sale of Wan-Bissaka into account on all of this, just the profit that they make from him essentially covers the cost this year of the signings of de Ligt and Mazraoui from a transfer fee perspective. So anyway, it is really what allows them to do it, getting this a good deal. As I understand it, the payment terms are pretty dang good on these deals as well. And the personal terms are fine. As I mentioned, I think a long time ago, that was one of the things that sort of perked United up on this, is that de Ligt wouldn't necessarily need to be on super high wages, that there's a bit more incentives built into his contract than what it looks like at first. And yeah, it's a worthwhile deal. United set out, I think in January is when I was first talking about it, maybe December, to overhaul the center backs this summer, knowing that Rafael Varane was going to leave, and looking at the age of the center backs with Evans, Lindelof, Maguire, all the wrong side of 30, I believe. And then, Lisandro Martinez is not the youngest, but he's fine in terms of where he is. But when you have all these older center backs, clearly age-wise, that's where you need to make some changes. And if you look at Ineos's plan overall as they came in, that was a huge focus, is lowering the average age profile of the club and looking at it as a 2, 3, 4-year project to really build up, get good young players in. We've talked about that all summer. Good young players in who can grow with the club together and be improving with what you have over the next 2 or 3 years. Well, they've done that. De Ligt and Euro both under the age of 25. And this means that we have a very young team. Xerxes, of course, also quite young, the young player of the year in a Serie A. So yeah, it certainly changes things for the positive. The oldest player, of course, Mazraoui, being 27, but for 12 million pounds, you're going to get a good 5 years out of him as a coverage for left back and right back, and potentially a starting quality player. We'll talk about that in a second. So de Ligt done at the opportunity price that they wanted. That brings the total that United have spent this summer up to 50 million for de Ligt and Mazraoui, and then with Euro 52 million, so it's 102 million, and then with Xerxes, was that 33 million pounds, something like that in the end, 36, something there. So 138 with the sales of Wan-Bissaka for about 15, Mason Greenwood for 27, and a few young players. Really, they've got this down net to somewhere in the range of under 100 million pounds, if I'm not mistaken. I have to do my math again once all of the exact figures come out. But yeah, 90 million pounds maybe net. And good profit on those deals as well. That's the important thing. Kambuala, Alvaro Fernandez, Mason Greenwood, as well as Wan-Bissaka, all deals sold for profit. And that matters quite a lot. United will it'll help them have a good financial year, which will reduce the restrictions even further next year. So that was why these prices were important. But again, sticking to that thing, the value. And I thought they would walk because I didn't think Bayern would come down in the price, and clearly they did. And that was always the key. If they hadn't come down, United would have walked away, as we've seen. And I think that's a really good thing. But instead, it means we're getting deals at record values compared to what we've been paying in the past. I mean, when you consider De Ligt, Mazraoui, and Xerxes all for the price of Antony. Can you believe that? And then you think about Mason Mount, De Ligt and Mazraoui for the price of Mason Mount, under the price of Mason Mount, under the price of Rasmus Højlund, under the price of Casemiro. It's kind of unbelievable how poorly we have purchased players in the past. And I'm not even hating on those specific players. I quite like them. But man, it's like everybody we bought had to be 60 million, seems like. So big improvement at United there. And with De Ligt, now we get a player who may not be ready to start at the weekend because he didn't do as much of a preseason. Maguire came off a little early, but he's very likely to get in there pretty quickly, and he could partner Euro as well. I think we could see that a fair bit once Euro returns, but in the short term, it means we have Lissandro, De Ligt, and Euro, and Maguire, all as center backs that are viewed by the club as solid, good center backs with good attitudes, with leadership qualities in all of them. And that is an aspect of De Ligt that I do really like, though I've had concerns on the deal itself. He is a leader and has a very, very good attitude and mental side of things, I think, and personality-wise, you could not almost ask for more from a player. Very confident, too. Okay, so that's De Ligt. Let's move on to Mazraoui. 12 million pounds for Mazraoui, some add-ons built into that as well. Big reason for this. It's interesting, nothing is still moving, but I would expect Mazraoui will start this weekend, either at left back or with Dalot at left back and him at right back. Very strongly expect that to happen, that Mazraoui will be in there. The announcements of both, I would think, might be Wednesday morning. They're not expected today. We tend to wait until we have that visa to announce, and I think that could be Wednesday. I would hope it's sooner. They've both gone off and done a lot of their media duties and all the things that need to happen, but finish their medicals and everything. But you kind of need Wan-Bissaka's to totally wrap and be announced, the visa to be wrapped and announced, all of those things you want to make sure are done, and that should give them time to be registered for the weekend and to be in the squad, which I expect that they will be. I did want to look at Mazraoui because he looks great, honestly. I was really, really happy with this one. If you've been following the videos and the things, there's signings I'm concerned with and there's signings I'm not. I've been a big fan of the idea of Mazraoui, and I'll tell you why when you look at the stats. So when you compare him to Diogo Dalot here, which I compared him to Luke Shaw, which I can pull up, but I can't do different years, and I think Shaw's results last year were a bit concerning to me, just because he didn't play that much. If you look, a lot of similarities to Diogo Dalot. Key passes, shots, both good tacklers, high percentage tacklers. He's a really good interceptor. Mazraoui is, I didn't actually expect him to look this good, but really proactive defending. Very involved, part of this being at Bayern. Look at the XA for fullbacks, shot creating actions, threat generated, progressive actions. Now his distance is a bit lower, but that's a team that holds possession a lot more. So when he's progressing, it's smaller amounts, where we played a lot in transition, so it's a bigger amount. So you can think like more passes forward, more dribbles forward, but fewer distance, a smaller distance. Is what you're looking at, because Bayern had a lot more possession than us. I believe that's a simple answer. But there's one thing that stands out to me more than anything else, and it's this right here, crossing. Mazraoui is not a big crosser of the ball statistically. I love that, and I'll tell you why. I don't want two fullbacks smacking crosses in, because we are not good at getting on the end of them. And neither Højlund or Xerxes is particularly great at that. So when you look at shot creating actions, expected assists, where are they coming from then? Keeping the ball on the ground. That's something we need to do more. Low crosses across the face of goal, in the box. Those are the things I want to see. those are the things that I want to see more of. And let me just do passes into the box attempted. And I just want to see what this says. But that's for me where we've really struggled, statistically over time, is making those easy goals. So that's what I want to see. Where passes into the box completed. Okay, so he completes a lot. Passes into the box attempted is lower. Now, if you compare it, of course, when you take the crosses would be passes into the box, right? So you're getting the same number, but they're going to be more on the ground, and that's probably why you're seeing more completed. So statistically, I love it. Really similar to Dalot in a lot of ways. Obviously, Bayern having more possession and being a better team overall, you're seeing some of the stats being better. But otherwise, he gives you a lot of what Dalot is giving you. And that was really interesting to see how similar that they were. Yeah, that's why you had to see how similar they were. So I'm quite excited about the signing. I think that he's going to be surprisingly good for us, getting in there, progressing, and getting the ball, across. So yeah, getting the ball across, but on the ground and getting it into attackers, which I think suits us. And that leads me into the point of the next thing in discussing the game, because I was doing the watch along on Saturday, which was a lot of fun again, and that platform will be launching again soon. So for everybody who joined, I think people really had a great time. Most people who say they don't usually watch alongs came in and watched it. And it was fun, but one of the things I could not stop talking about, which is kind of annoying to me, is fullbacks. I'm huge on fullbacks. When you watch them play overall, I actually thought Rashford had a pretty good game, should have finished his chances. Overall, United did really well, created a lot of opportunities, but the biggest thing is fullbacks. Lissandro struggled at left back, which is fine. It's not his position. I very much expected that. But the biggest thing you could note is that Dalot would be getting up and supporting the right-sided winger a lot, making the overlaps, making the runs, and it makes the space, it makes the separation, it distracts the defense. On the left, nothing. And so most of the play came from switches from left to right because you have that extra, the extra man there. We need that on both sides. And, it's my biggest concern that I see is that, our wingers are better with fullbacks. Our wingers are better. And Rashford, especially, if you give him the right people, he can be insane. But if we're going to leave him isolated on the left, then yeah, I think he will struggle a little bit, though I do think he had a good game. Should have probably scored at least one of those chances, though. Garnacho, great coming in, a short preseason. I think it'll be Rashford and Ahmad at the weekend. Ahmad was really good. But yeah, the biggest thing that I noted and why I thought this was so important and it made me so happy to see it is the fullback, so that we can get Lissandro back into center back. When he switched back to center back, incredible. At left back was struggling. So the fullbacks, I'm just, more than anything, that's the thing I took away from the game. If we can have two fullbacks getting forward. And Mazraoui, one of the other underrated things in talking to people about him is two-footedness, being able to pass with both feet. Very strong there, very good there, very creative there. So that's why I think he probably will play on the left, because then at least you have Dalot in the right position and Mazraoui there and all of that, I think. But it sounds like, Amos won't go on loan and would be like a, an emergency option, as we see, if needed, or pending Luke Shaw stuff, pending if Malacia ever comes back and everything. But really excited there. Now, some players got very limited minutes and some players didn't play at all, like Joshua Zirkzee. That doesn't mean they won't play at the weekend. United played a closed-door match, not with another team, but inter-squad, a full match yesterday, I believe it was, with some of the under-21s and some of the players who didn't play, including Zirkzee, working on the fitness, working to get into the team more, working on all of that. And so I think part of it is, having some surprises and not taking any risks at the weekend. So yeah, that was happening as well, to get some more minutes in, to get more match fitness in a sense, No different to the friendly we played at the weekend in some sense, right? So so that's encouraging. I think that, Joshua Zirkzee could definitely be in contention. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised to see what we saw, Bruno false 9 again. Mount. Casemiro had a good game, didn't he? He had a good game. Much more compact as a team, and he does better. The false 9 helps a lot. Now, that's not to say we don't need a midfield, which I'll get to, but he did have a good game. If he could play at least that well with Manu, Mount, and Bruno in there, then I think we should be fine. And I could see that, Mazraoui on the left, Lissandro, De Ligt, or Maguire potentially still, Dalot on the right, Casemiro, Manu, Mount, Bruno, Rashford, Ama. That really could be it at the weekend. I would like to see Zirkzee in there and Bruno into the midfield. I think it's a lot better. I think we did struggle a little bit, and at times with that setup. And I think it'll be less good when we're not playing as much on the break against Fulham, in my opinion. So on the midfield front, as I understand it, United definitely still interested in Ugarte, but also they have continued discussions over under Berge. As I mentioned last week, that I was sort of checking it out, and I haven't got too much more on it. It's been busy, a lot of personal stuff. My kids starting school, things like that. So nothing bad, just been busy. So I haven't gotten to do too much of some of the things I wanted to do yet, but should calm down soon. But in checking the things out that I could, United still discussing Sander Berge, still have some contacts with his agents as well as his club. And as I mentioned before, there were people around him that felt that, just in discussion, that this was kind of actually moving forward. But that's not always the best way, because it's not specific, it's not detailed, and it's only a part of the picture. So that's not to indicate that I'm saying it's happening. They haven't yet done like this, okay, we're signing you, we're definitely coming in, all of that. But they very much are keeping this option open, for sure. And then, Ugarte continues to be in a similar way of De Ligt, how they kind of walked away from it, even though they didn't do a briefing, right? They walked away from it and then came back, and then bid was rejected, and they kind of said, all right, well, fine. And then they started open talks again. And I think that was based on Bayern being more willing to come down. Well, we'll see if the same happens for De Ligt, for Ugarte. Now, the other thing I meant to mention here was Jadon Sancho, PSG. Last week, the offer kind of that they had on the table, or discussions that they had for Sancho, were definitely not workable for United, were very low. And they've got Desiree Doué now, right? He's chosen to join them. They're getting a deal done there, so that probably takes them out of the race for that. I'm not seeing a lot of options for Jadon Sancho. I think he'll probably stay and play and be the backup left winger, which you saw on the weekend. That's where he plays. He is the backup left winger. That is his position. That is kind of where he's been settled into, and probably where he will continue to play or be in the squad. So I think that works for him. I think that works for everybody. And we'll see if he can contribute this year. But I think it's good having all these options to be able to rest Rashford, to be able to rest Garnacho, to be able to rest them, and give people, choices where you have so many you could play with, where you could do Garnacho and Sancho and Højlund and do all sorts of different combinations to see what works. And I'm very happy we have all those choices. They all are also young, and again, fitting that overall age profile that we wanted to lower in the squad has been a huge focus, and something we are seeing, that's been fantastic. So in terms of whether we will make more signings or not, potentially, yes. United are not at this stage saying that they're done in the market. They have completed their major priorities, which were to get a striker in. I don't think another striker is coming. I never have. I don't believe that's a priority, barring Sancho being sold and maybe something else happening, but that's looking unlikely right now. They've got 2 center backs in. I don't think we're going back in for Gerard Braithwaite. I've seen some rumors on that. There's not really been any indication from Everton of lowering the price, or nothing really like changing there. United are still very interested, and I think next year they might say, good, let's move Maguire on and get Braithwaite. Now, they're probably looking to sell Lindelof at this point in time. There's interest from him in Italy, and I understand that of some of the destinations mentioned, I think Italy would be more to his preference. Last week, I was talking about the difficulties in moving players with all of that, and you saw that with Wan-Bissaka. Like, more money, as I said, would solve it, which is part of what happened, but it still was a little shaky at certain points as we're finalizing those exit terms, and that is a big deal. With Lindelof, it should be a little bit simpler, but I don't think United will stand to gain much money on it, and if an option presents itself, he'll probably go to Italy. Pellistri, Hannibal, as I've said, they're likely to go. More we can sell, the more we can do, for sure. There's still interest from Pellistri and from a number of clubs. Now, I did think it was interesting him being deployed at right back. Now, maybe that was just for fun, right? But just because we needed to make up the numbers for the game. But it's an interesting one. You never know. If we need coverage in the fullback, maybe he stays and all of that. I don't think that'd be necessarily the best thing for his career, but we'll see him. If someone comes in for an offer, then I think he'll go. Same as Hannibal. I don't believe we're going in for Braithwaite this summer, barring major changes and a big offer for Harry Maguire. Likely it'll be next year. Likely we'll come back for him next year, quite possibly. If he develops well and it looks good, we'll probably come back for him. But we might also have way more options next year once the team has been in hand for a long time. But again, getting that left-footed player, I think, is key. There's been talk of Hermoso. I don't really know that United are interested. It seems very agenty at this point in time. I don't know. It's a cheap opportunity for a left-sided center-back, left-back, but I'm not sure United are particularly intrigued by it at this point in time. Midfield will be the next thing that they want to get done. They do want a midfielder in. They do believe they could sell someone, that they could sign someone rather, and obviously how much they can spend and the flexibility of what they have depends on Scott McTominay, and if he can be sold with obviously Casemiro, as we've said, and I think Ten Hag confirmed it, he's basically staying. McTominay, you could see he's in a very bit part role now. When a striker returns and Bruno's there and Mount is there, McTominay's not going to play much, and I think that's maybe a little bit of a sign to him, hey, you got to go if there's an offer, and maybe that'll push to get something over the line before the end of the window for him. Maybe Fulham come back in, maybe he reaches out to them and says, okay, you know what, I'm going to accept this. I actually do want to come there because I need to play football. We'll see. I don't know on that, but there's still certainly exploration being done on all sides to see if there's anywhere for him to land. And that does change what United can spend. Now, I don't think they're going to hold up a deal for Sander Berge or similar if they are close to one that's at a good value. They don't want to pay 30. I think they'd like to pay around 25, maybe with add-ons included. They won't hold it up, but certainly before they finish it, they will check and see if anything changes on Ugarte there. If not, then I think they'll go ahead and they very much could potentially get Berge done if Burnley will accept that reasonable fee. They like him, not the only option, but like I've said before, I don't hear much on Fofana. I haven't for a long time. I don't hear much on the other names. Zubamendi is not going to happen as far as we all know. Amrabat is the emergency option. I haven't heard anything further on anybody but Ugarte and Berge myself. That doesn't mean it's not the case. If I don't know the names or there's other people that they're looking at that they could bring in, that they're talking to, it's outside of my view, and that's fine. That could be the case. But I'm still suspecting that it's one of those two. And I think that, Berge could definitely be the one. It could happen. That's one that, there is active discussion. So we'll see. We'll see there. But I think that for sure they do want to get another signing in. And they can. But some sales will definitely help be more flexible in terms of how far we can go. Especially with Ugarte being a priority. I think we need some sales to be able to pay for him. And also whether it's a loan and things like that. So that's what I have for today. It's been a good one. Really happy that the game over the weekend was actually really exciting for me. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it so much. I don't know if you all did, but I actually really enjoyed the match. I thought we were quite good. I was quite encouraged by it. I'm really looking forward to the start of the season. yeah, I'm looking forward to the start of the season. I'm so looking forward to Friday, and to getting going and watching the game with all of you, and just seeing what United can do this year. I think it's I'm so positive over things right now. I really am, and the fact that we'll probably see some new signings getting going in that game is pretty cool. So, thank you for watching today's video. I will be doing the podcast with Phil this week. I think he was a bit busy today, but we'll be doing the podcast this week. And then let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to cover this week or see this week, because, yeah, you know, just in terms of stuff and content and all of that, and anything that you'd like. But I'll keep you up to date as we head into things. Hints, potentially starting lineup, what's to come, and all of that. But yeah, that's what we have for today. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next video.